Hope you're having a wonderful morning. I know that I am. The weather's slightly becoming warmer. I'm not sure what's wrong with this year's winter, but I saw one of my friends on social media posted that it's not winter even per se. It's autumn light pro max. And I think, yeah, it hasn't gotten cold. But yeah, I think wherever you are, you're enjoying the weather as much as I am. And yeah, we're starting with the business of the day. We're going to be delving into a very, very important issue. I think there were a lot of surprises when this past week Cyril Ramaphosa announced his new cabinet, and a few of the surprising appointments, or one of the most notable one was, of course, the one of the basic education minister. Well, that appointment was given to the Democratic Alliance, Siviwe Gwarube, and we'll be speaking to the Secretariat officer at SADTU, who's going to be giving us their reaction. We'll be speaking to Xolani Fakude, who's joining us via StreamYard. Good morning, Babu Fakude. Thank you so much for joining us on Salam Media.
Good morning, Sulailo. Let me greet you. Let me greet the viewers and listeners as well. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure is all ours. I think just briefly we can start by explaining why SADTU has taken such a strong stance against the appointment of Siviwe Gwarube as the new education minister. We've always been calling for the appointment of young people. She's a young fresh face. She's black, understands what the education system needs. She's been through the ranks of the South African education system. She's in her 40s. I'm sure this would have been an appreciated appointment, but it's seemingly not from SADTU's point of view. Can you explain to us why?
Well, absolutely not, Lilo. In fact, in our statement that we released post the announcement of the cabinet, we called the appointment of Siviwe Gwarube as an affront, really, to SADTU. It is like an assault to SADTU. Remember, the president, when he made his announcement, he also spoke of experience, he spoke of skills, and we are not convinced that we've got that sufficiently enough coming from Ms. Siviwe Gwarube. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter here is that the Democratic Alliance has been, for the longest time, since time immemorial, campaigning and pushing a manifesto and a narrative of what we call SADTU Gefar. They have actually seen unions, they have seen organized labor and collective bargaining as one of the primary problems or one of the primary challenges within a system as complicated as education. Now, we are saying once we've got a department like that, it is likely to reverse or even delay the transformative agenda and transformative policies that we see that have been put in place by, in particular, the ANC-led government. Now, coming to Ms. Gwarube, as we said, is that the DA has been campaigning on the basis of SADTU Gefar. And we are saying that we cannot be excited, we cannot be overwhelmed by then having a minister coming from that very same particular DA. It is the DA that has been saying that some of the challenges in the education system are actually not because they are systemic. It is because the ANC-led government has allowed SADTU, we are quoting them, has allowed SADTU to be too strong. But then SADTU does not make any institutional appointments. SADTU can only influence policy up to a certain extent. What we do is that we observe where we need to, just like any other union. So we are saying that we are prepared, in essence, to engage with the new minister, because there is nothing that we can do now. The president has already made his appointments. We do not want to differ, or rather to sort of eliminate or negate his particular prerogative. However, this particular emperor has been unmasked. We know who the DA is. We have seen their track record in basic education in the Western Cape, for instance, whereby mid into the first term of every year, you would still have thousands of unplaced students or unplaced learners, in particular the black areas being in the township areas, etc., in the Western Cape, because the DA simply just does not care. So we are saying that we are up for a transformative agenda. We want to see social justice. We want to see equitable and equal education. And we are going to be observing this minister quite closely. But we must be honest and we must state it very, very categorically clear that we are not happy at all. In fact, we are taken aback by the appointment of a DA minister into such a critical and complicated department with a lot of systemic challenges that require some serious multi-stakeholder interventions, not just to bash unions and blame unions for everything that is happening as a challenge within the department.
I want to touch on what you mentioned a few times, the fact that the DA has historically been critical of SADTU and its influence in the education sector. What are these issues that you can say are specific policies and actions of the Democratic Alliance that have led to this distrust, this seemingly big distrust that you have with the Democratic Alliance and SADTU as an organization?
Well, a few years ago, let me give you a very good example. A few years ago, SADTU was in the forefront of the policy on teaching our children relevant South African history as part of the curriculum from certain grades. And the Democratic Alliance was the first to jump high and screaming and shouting and saying that, you see, now here is the ANC bending to the pressure of SADTU to teach our children ANC history. However, this was about teaching our children relevant South African history so that they could understand where they are, so that they can understand where we are coming from, and most importantly, appreciate where we are going. And the DA was the first to jump up and down and say that, no, but this is just a SADTU a policy. It is a policy that is being implemented currently. And however, we are hoping that the new minister will not come as an obstacle towards such progressive policies. There are many others as well, for instance, that we talk about. SADTU has not gone on a labor or an industrial action in quite the longest time. But however, you will hear the narrative is always that SADTU is an obstacle. So we've got a number of other examples that we can use and give really that show that the DA there is a serious trust deficit between ourselves and the DA. And just like the example that I've given you of the Western Cape, that every year, Slayelo, we come down as a country in January, we celebrate the matric results, improvements, etc. It will all be about this, what do you call it, like a beauty contest of which province comes above which one. But the fact of the matter is we are making limited progress in the areas that are hard pressed in the Western Cape. And we have seen how that has even affected the results. So we are saying that we've got a number of examples that can lead to the case. And besides, the DA has always been traditionally against transformative policies, whether it is in education, whether it is not. I mean, of how they were talking about how they would reverse, for instance, the National Health Insurance Bill, amongst others, and all those transformative agendas. So we've got a number of those in the Department of Basic Education, and we believe that the Democratic Alliance is not going to assist us to advance them. And that is why we are taken aback as a union in this particular case.
I want to take a quick break, but when we come back, you touched a bit on transformation, and the General Secretary of SADTU, Mogoena Maluleke, mentioned and stated that the DA has no interest in addressing the issues faced by Black teachers. When we come back, after the break, I want you to maybe just unpack some of those issues. What are these issues that you feel specifically affect Black teachers, and how do you believe the DA's leadership will exacerbate or maybe not pay heed to? But yeah, we'll touch a bit on that after this.
Absolutely.
Poultry for all your sadaka, akika and kurbani requirements. We offer clean, hygienic abattoir style and refrigeration facilities. Sheep, goats and cows are available at competitive market-related prices, direct to the public. We slaughter, slice and distribute on your behalf. But that's not all. Introducing Meatmasters Halal Butchery, our sister company situated on our farm in Lenasia. Unbeatable prices on lamb, beef and chicken. Lenasia Livestock and Poultry. Livestock is our business. We are SANHA approved. Telephone 011 857 1774. Call now.
It's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with Penny Appeal organizations in Gaza.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Salam Media. The time is 25 minutes past 8, and you're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makwidiri, and I'm still chatting to Xolani Fakude, who's the Secretariat officer at SADTU. Xolani is, kind of bashing Siviwe Gwarube, the newly appointed Minister of Education. Thank you so much for staying with us, Xolani. Before we went to the break, I wanted to chat a bit about some of the key issues that you feel like are, affecting Black teachers specifically, what those issues are, and how do you believe that the DA's leadership will exacerbate them or, ignore them at the peril of the education system and the learners and the educators and the whole ecosystem of education in South Africa?
Well, Slelo, what is happening is that Black teachers are mostly found, or not even Black teachers. Let us not make this about black and white, but about poorer and richer areas. But a majority of the Blacker teachers, you'd find them in the lower quintile schools. So quintile 1, 2, 3 schools. These are the rural schools all the way up towards township schools, because that is how it is determined. The capacity of that particular community to take care of the school. Now, that is where we mostly find these teachers. So that is where our members in the main are. Now, when you look into that particular space, it is a space which is filled with a number of systemic challenges, and most of them are socio-economic in nature. We still have got teachers actually that are teaching learners that are coming from families that are not parent-headed, and they are heading them themselves. There's a number of other challenges as well, but that are socio-economic in nature, safety and security, etc. Now, what we need in those particular schools, which is where our members are, which is where the Black teachers are, is we need a multi-stakeholder, a collaborative approach, not weaker unions, which is what the DA has been calling for. So now, when you look into the most successful education systems in the world, they've got an almost 100% unionization. However, the DA is calling for the opposite and saying that no, the unions are too strong, which means that you want to undermine labor peace. So fundamentally, it's about undermining that labor peace, the right of teachers to organize. You see, the political head of a department gives off the hints of the kind of an environment that we are then going to find ourselves working within as education workers. And right now, the notes that we've been getting from the DA, which are against a transformative agenda, which are against organized labor, against collective bargaining, against stronger unions, are all going the opposite direction of what we are looking for. So we feel that having the DA there, or a DA or a minister is deployed by the DA there, will not necessarily assist us in moving forward. In fact, we feel that some of those policies, such as the investment that is required in terms of continuous professional teacher development, might even be delayed. Like I said, we have seen the examples in the Western Cape. We have seen how the DA has focused on certain areas and neglected certain areas because they just did not have any interest to serve those in particular. So we're talking about a lived experience here, by the way, Slayelo. We are not talking about hearsays. We have seen this happen. So we do not believe indeed that we are going to be assisted by this particular appointment.
Let's touch a bit on the legacy of the former Minister of Education, Nji Motshekga. SADTU enjoyed kind of a hot and cold relationship with her. There were times where you guys were calling for her to step down. There were times where you were really cordial with her as the Minister of Education. Just her legacy. She served, I think, for almost 20 years as a Minister of Education. What do you make of her legacy, and would you rather have had Nji Motshekga remain as the Minister of Education, or you had someone else in mind?
Well, look, as Lilo, we would never have anyone in mind because it's the prerogative of the president to appoint who is in his cabinet. In terms of the legacy of Nji Motshekga, progress has been made. Yes, progress has been made. However, there is always space for improvement. There could always have been far much more significant steps that are taken. However, one would be foolhardy to ignore the fact that we have seen a number of policy interventions that came into the picture, from mother tongue language prioritization to history as a compulsory subject in certain grades, to a number of other policies, including strengthening of scholar transport, even though there were particular challenges there, the school feeding schemes, etc. So challenges have always been there because the education system itself is systemic. It requires a number of stakeholders to work together. That is why SADTU has got a campaign called the I Am a School Fan campaign, which is really about mobilizing multiple stakeholders to play an active role in improving the lives of our kids. It's also about the safety, health and safety of our learners and teachers, in particular, and education workers. So to answer you more directly, whether we would have enjoyed or we would have preferred to stay, well, we would not comment on that because it's not our prerogative. However, it would be foolhardy of us, and it would be dishonest of South Africans not to acknowledge that indeed progress has been made, whilst there are challenges that could have been addressed far much more decisively. One cannot ignore that factor. And you are correct, by the way. Our relationship with Menji was blowing hot and cold. We were not necessarily the best of friends. We were not darlings. We would be the first unions, or that would be the first union to rise up and call for action where we feel that it was not being taken appropriately. So, however, we would not want to infringe on or undermine the prerogative of the president. And we are saying that this new Minister of Basic Education, we are going to look at her like a hawk's eye. We are going to be very, very vigilant, and we are going to ensure that as teachers in particular, as education workers, there is nothing about us without us. We are very emphatic and unapologetic about that particular point.
And just lastly, future relations with the minister. I know you touched on it a bit. Are you going to give her time? Are you going to, give her all the support that she needs until she shows that she's incapable? Because in my head, I feel like there couldn't be any more better candidate for this. This is a young black female, grew up in a village outside King Williamstown. She was raised by a grandmother who was a single unmarried teacher, by the way. Are you going to give her room, to work and to collaborate with her and give her the right kind of support, instead of just sending, the first signs of negativity and being against all of, all the work that you might have planned out? Are you going to create that room for collaboration, because this is a very, very important department, and we must not lose our heads and let our feelings and egos at times to interfere with what's at the core of this, which is the education of the future of young South Africans.
Well, Slylo, we are not giving off the first signals of negativity. The DA has long been giving signals of negativity. The DA, by being anti-union, the DA in particular, by campaigning on the basis of wanting to weaken unions, has always been giving off all those negative signals that you are referring to. Whether we are going to work with her or not, we are not necessarily an antagonistic union. What we want to see is the transformative agenda within the basic education department being propelled. That is what we are not apologetic about. We are not going to necessarily be antagonistic and stand on the rooftops and take every opportunity to sort of fight against the new Minister of Basic Education. But what we are saying is that we are not going to keep quiet. We are not going to be apologetic when we see things not going the correct way. We are not going to be apologetic when we see those progressive policies that we have fought so hard for, those ones that are meant to uplift the lives of, in particular, Black poorer learners being compromised in any way. We are not going to be quiet. We are going to be the first ones to rise and speak about it. The Department of Basic Education, by its very nature, is very complicated, and therefore one, being female, being Black, being young, is not necessarily sufficient enough to respond to the question of experience and skill, which the president spoke about when he was raising the matter of his cabinet. So we feel that this is once again one of those GNU dynamics that were meant to reach consensus in one way or the other. But we know, Slylo, who we're talking with here, we know that this new minister does not have the sufficient and the requisite experience and skills. But like I said, we are not an antagonistic union. We are not an oppositionist union. In fact, we want to be part of the solution. So if she is prepared to work with us, if she is prepared to let the department work with the unions, work with organized labor, work with, and not be anti-SADTU, do not come there as a minister just to bash SADTU and reduce every challenge to the strength of SADTU, then we are going to have a problem with that. And we are going to make it very clear, Slylo, we are not going to be apologetic.
All right, I think that's where we're going to leave it there with SADTU Secretariat Officer Xolani Fakude. Thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us insight on SADTU's true feelings about the new boss of Department of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwarube. I'm sure we'll be keeping a close eye on her, and as her tenure unfolds, I'm sure we'll be catching up with you just to get your thoughts on some of the major decisions that she'll be making while she's at the helm. And I hope you guys won't be going on a strike that's lasting 2 months. Because
we do not just wake up and decide to go on a strike. We normally go through processes, make us unhappy, and then we will observe our rights. We will handle our rights properly. And if it comes to that point, it will get to that point. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you to the viewers.
All right, Xolani Fakude, the Secretariat Officer at SADTU. Yeah, those are SADTU's feelings about the appointment of Siviwe Gwarube. Young Black female, they're saying she might not have the correct experience. Well, as a young Black person myself, isn't that the issue that we've always been fighting? Hey, young people of color, experience, how are they going to get it if they're not afforded the opportunity to be in leadership roles? I don't know. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to anti-apartheid cleric and political activist Dr. Helen. Still keeping with the theme of the GNU. Well, he coined it. Listen to this. A grotesque monstrosity. We'll be speaking to Dr. Helen after this, just to get his feelings about the GNU and why he termed it this grotesque monstrosity. Well, a lot of people are feeling like this is a new dawn of a new dawn. I don't know. More after this.